specifically for organizing this section. Best wishes from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Now over to our HOD, Dr. Ramni Bai, for addressing the audience.
Thank you. First of all, a pleasant evening wishes to all gathered here. This is a very special occasion for computer science. The Department of Computer Science has been always enriched with a set of vibrant activities in par with academic excellence. We strongly believe in the holistic development of the students along with their academic progress. So here, so we have been like that, and this lockdown. Before the lockdown, we were been totally engaged with quite a lot of activities. Weekly activities, monthly activities. We have been like that, but once the lockdown started, we had a very deep depression that we could not do any student activities or department activities in a large scale. So I was thinking, so how do we revamp it? So there comes the Google Developers Club activity. I'm really happy the lead, I would say the ex-lead, Hemant, has initiated this. The set of programs, all it's completely a student-driven initiative and owned by the students themselves. And also, I would welcome the new lead, Mr. Cyril from S5A batch, who is going to lead this developer club from here on. And also, my hearty appreciation to the staff coordinator, Ms. Shalida, for taking up this challenge at this time and coordinating with the students and making this program a reality one. And a special welcome to Mr. Sooraj Chandran, our own alumnus, so 2014 batch, a co-founder and CEO of CARMS, now it's owned by Oyster. So I think the students have identified the right personality to inaugurate, as well as give the first technical session by the ex-student. And when I look at the set of programs and a set of webinars for the 7 days, it's being carefully designed, and each day is meant for introducing a tool that is being widely used by the student community. So in that aspect, being the head of the department, a part of this CSC team, I'm really happy to be part of, happy to acknowledge this initiative. And also we have a set of our faculty members and staff joining with us. So this is what we strongly believe in, so that we enjoy this togetherness. And I wish, and my best wishes and blessings too for the next, for the successful deployment of all the 7 sessions. And we truly believe in the quality deployment of the tasks that we have taken. And I'm sure that, so that will be done by the student coordinator with the well support of the staff coordinators. I wish the entire team once again, and I express my happiness for this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now to the part that we've all been waiting for. Without any further ado, I request Sooraj Chandran sir to start today's section.
Hey all. I hope you can hear me and see me too. If not, please let me know. So first of all, a huge honor to be here. You know, like I have been part of the other side. I've been part of the crowd. I have sat. You probably like I was sat on the big auditorium, listening to people, wanting to do stuff. So it's a huge honor to be here, although not in the auditorium, because of the whole pandemic situation. And it's a different setup, but super happy to be here. And yeah, for several reasons, Vidya is very close to my heart because like you all, I spent 4 years of my life there learning stuff, growing through my teenage. So I'm not a guest here. I don't think I think the word guest it doesn't do justice. I'm not a guest here. I'm part of the college. So yeah, super happy to be here. So I'll start off with a quick intro about me. I completed my computer science graduation in 2014 from Vidya. I got placed in TCS. TCS was not the thing for me. It was a different world than I expected. So I left TCS in a few months. I joined a startup. After that, I started my own startup, which completely utterly failed. I had to close down the startup, and then I looked for another job, which I worked for a few years, and then again started my startup, which is Karam. It is like mentioned in the intro. It is a payroll software for remote teams. And recently, it was acquired by Oyster. It's a company working in same space, based out of US. And currently, I'm working as a product manager in Oyster. So that's my short intro. And one very important point made by the principal, like your competition is global. It's very right. Teams are getting remote, right? So I have been working in remote teams. There are people from all over the world, and it is a very important point. Like your competition is global, and why should you be more prepared than ever? But on looking at the brighter side, your opportunities are also global, and you can work for. Usually, like 4 or 5 years back, you were restricted to working in a company, in India. Mostly, it's Bangalore or Chennai or like that was your range, right? You could only work in those companies, with TCSs and all. But right now, the opportunity is also global. You can work in a company in the US or in Europe or anywhere. So also keep that in mind. Why you should upskill yourself and be ready for the global market. Now, I think I was asked to talk about the importance of communities and opportunities for students, right? And it would be very boring if I keep on talking for 45 minutes about for stuff. So if you have any questions, please ask. If you have any thoughts, please share. I think that would be the best way. I wouldn't listen to myself for 45 minutes, right? I mean, that would be boring, right? I have been on the side, so like listening to people talking continuously for 45 minutes, that's kind of boring. So please feel free to ask questions or share any thoughts that you might have. Let's talk about communities, right? And why are communities so important? Like your developer club or your like AI club, it's a community, right? All these are communities. And what are the importance of communities? So basically, humans are wired to work in communities, right? Like that's why we have families. We are born into a community. From history, we were nomads. Like we didn't have a community, but we evolved to be part of a community. We walked around the earth. We were hunter-gatherers. We collected food, and then we built small tribes. Then we built villages. Then we built countries. It grew from there. And as humans, we always want to be part of a group. Yeah, I mean, all of us, we want to belong to some group, right? So I can say I'm an Indian. I'm an agnostic. I'm a fan of Manchester United. So we always put ourselves into these buckets, which is called communities. And we work psychologically. We are wired to work better in communities, and that's like I would say the basic need of communities. And whenever I get an opportunity to talk to students, I always start by talking about the mistakes I've made. So I think there are like two ways to learn things. One is from somebody else's mistakes, and one is from your mistakes. Both ways you learn. So I think more people should come out and share their mistakes. So everybody else is getting an opportunity to learn from mistakes. So I would just do that. I'd start off by sharing the mistakes I've made, or maybe the things that I would have done differently if I'm in college right now. So you too can try these things out. Since you are right now in college, you're going through one of the best times of your life. What are the things I would do differently? One is, again, to put things into perspective, I'm strictly talking about career. I mean, there is different aspects of life, right? There is career side, there is family, there is relationships, and all that. I'm not going to talk about all that parts, because that is also super important. And right now I'm talking strictly with respect to your career. So again, coming back to my case, I never even knew how to build a proper web application when I was in college. Internet was not very accessible for everyone, right? Back then, I didn't have access to internet as much as today. I got my first Android phone when I was probably in like third year of college. And I think internet is the best university. Internet is like the single place where you can learn everything. You can prepare yourself. You can ready yourself for the future. And learn coding. Like spend time. I think this is like the whole purpose of all the developer students club. Coding is like math. Even if you're from a different, you need not be a computer science engineer to learn coding. Like, coding will help everyone. It's basically like math. I mean, everyone learns math, right? Like, math is not just for mathematicians. Math is for everyone. I think in future, in 10 years, coding would be just like that. It would be for everyone. Like, when the world goes more digital, when we move more towards web, development and coding would be like a basic requirement. So please learn coding. Please build something. It can be a stupid idea. That doesn't matter. I mean, it can be something stupid. It can be something cute. It can be something nice. Just build something. Like experience it, learn it. It's the best way to learn something is to do it, rather than just watching courses or stuff. I'm pretty sure a lot of you already know this. A lot of you already build stuff. I know a few of you. Like, I personally know a few of you who have built some cool stuff. Build some softwares, which is great. Like, I'm pretty sure like 50% of you or half of you know much more than me at your age. So that's a great start. So please do that. Please keep doing that. That's like the best thing that you can do to yourself. And one other trend that we used to see, like at least in my time, it's like 6 years back, like there is final year projects, right? You have to build something, and there was a tendency for people to like outsource this. Like, there would be project building companies or like people who would build the project for you. Don't do that. That's like a I'd say the worst mistake that you can do to yourself in the whole 4 years of your BTech. Is that a question? Sorry. No, I think that was somebody on mute. All right. Let's come back to this. Right. I think I was talking about final year projects. So there was this tendency for people to like ask for outsiders or get it done somehow just for the sake of marks, just for the sake of good grades. Please don't do that. That project would probably be one of the most important thing or most useful thing in your 4-year career, in your 4-year life during your graduation. So please do that yourself. And it's okay if it's not perfect. It's okay if it's not like the best, coolest thing in town. Try doing it yourself, learn through it. So that's something that you can definitely do. And again, some mistake I have made, like my college project was like sentiment summarizer for with machine learning and stuff. The reason why I did is, it sounded fancy. Like machine learning sounded fancy. AI sounded fancy. 3D authentication sounded fancy. All these things. It sounded very fancy. So we were trying to impress people by doing very cool and fancy things. Don't do that. That is also a mistake. Looking back at that now, it was very silly. It was not really useful. So don't try to build things that impress other people, but find your genuine interest. Find something that interests you. It need not be your passion or anything. Something that is interesting to you. Build that, and you will learn tons of things when you build these things on your own, rather than going after a very cool concept. So please do that. And other thing was internships, right? Like internships used to be like a place where we went out and chilled out. It was like a vacation for us. And we never took internships seriously. Because again, we had to do internships just because we had to do it for the grades, for everything. So please don't do that. Internships are like the only place during your four-year course you actually get a taste of the real world. I'm not saying like your studies are real, but you get a taste of what is out there after your studies are over, right? I mean, the workplace. What would, like, getting internship in a really good company can change your life forever, because like when you spend time with people in a workplace who are really smart people, you get to learn a lot of things. Use the internet for good. I mean, there are a lot of companies hiring interns these days. Find an internship that, again, suits you, interests you, apply for it. It's okay to get rejected. I mean, if you send out like 20-25 applications or even 100 applications, maybe 90 of them will get rejected, but one of them will go through. So try to get into good internships. These are all the things I wish I did, but I didn't. I never did a proper internship when I was in college. We built the side, like the project, like the course project, but still I think we could have done things a lot differently. Be open to learning, try new things, be open to learning, learn coding, build something. It's okay if it's lame, just build something. So yeah, these are, like, to summarize, these are the things, these are the things I would have done differently when I was in college. I don't know if it was like, probably, I hope all of you are already doing these. Already doing these. That's great. If not, please start doing this. And now, again, coming back to the topic of communities, why are communities important for these things? Like, why should you be even part of a community? Like, I would ask yourself, you should ask yourself a question: what is the number one purpose of your college? Is it learning? Is it studying? From my experience, it's not. Like, the number one purpose of a college is to find your tribe or find your community. Think about it. Like, what does MITs or IITs or the Stanfords do differently from our college? Do they have, like, do they teach you differently? No, they don't. Like, they basically doesn't teach you better things than we do or anything else. It's just about the community that you are in. So if you go to Stanford or if you go to the MITs, the people who have been there belong to a tribe, which are built or done cool things in life. Probably all the alums are working in Google, or they might have built startups. They have sold startups for $1 million. So basically, going to the college is all about finding your tribe or finding the community that you want to belong to. Make use of it. This is the best time of your life where you can explore things, where you can find new things to follow, like new interests to follow. You can take risks. It's okay to fail. It's completely, it's okay to fail forever, like even after this, but still, it's completely okay to fail, and nobody cares. So try new things, take risks. So I love this. There is this quote from someone I don't know, like, you're the sum of the 5 people who you spend time with. So choose that 5 people, carefully. You become them, you become like them. So if you want to be a good musician, you spend time with great musicians, you will level up automatically. If you want to be a good developer, spend time with good developers, you will level up automatically. So that's where communities come in. That's why the communities in colleges are so important. Again, something like back in my days, there weren't any developer clubs or stuff. There were, but it wasn't very vocal as it is today. I think all of you guys are doing a great job organizing this stuff. It's very good. Like this is again something I wish I had done, but you're doing a great job in organizing this. And kudos to all the organizers. And so communities, communities are all about surrounding yourself with people who inspire you. So again, if you're wanting to learn, if you want to learn how to build a mobile app, spend time with, I think this is a great place to start, right? Like you have a crash course of things that you want to learn. I think that's very important. So spend time with people, who lift you up, who you can learn things from. That's the number one importance of communities. And I think the DSC VAST community is definitely a great example for that. I also had several communities as part of my life. For example, when I left TCS, I had no idea how to build a startup, how to start a startup. And then I joined a startup. I met people there. I met people who inspired me. I met people who inspired me to take up a different path. I still am friends with them. Like I have a group of 10 people. We call ourselves Castle Black. It's a Game of Thrones reference, you might know. So these 10 people, we inspire each other to build new things, try new stuff. They were also my co-founders of my previous company that failed. So we have gone through failures together. So this is again another example of community. Would be like, you probably know Vivid. Like I think Vivid was started by us, like 2014 batch. It's a tech fest of Vidya. So this is also like a community, right? Like you do cool things together, and you grow together. You learn new things. You are part of a group. I got like a lot of organization skills by conducting Vivid. If I chose to sit in a corner doing nothing, I would have lost a lot of important things in my life. So yeah, you can do great things in group rather than doing. If you want to, if you go, there is again this quote: if you want to do if you want to go far, go alone. If you want to, sorry, it's the other way. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So these groups help you, go far together because you complement each other and learn things. And there are a lot of internet communities too. So your college is a community, or that's all. It's a big community. Your family is a community, or like that DSC VAST. It's a small community. So apart from these live live communities, real life communities, there are also a lot of internet communities. Go out there and find these communities. Again. Internet is the best teacher, and it's literally changing the world, right? Everyone have access to proper internet these days, and you can find all these communities might live in Slack or Telegram groups, or I don't know, like Discord groups. There are a lot of internet communities that might be useful to you. First of all, decide where you want to go. That's a super important thing. It's a competitive advantage if you know where you want to go. It's okay if it changes. It's totally okay if it changes, and but still have an idea of where do you want to go. I think I'm already seeing a lot of questions. I'll come to that one by one. Right. All right. Getting back to talking. Yeah, I mean, first of all, decide where you want to go. Find some communities that does it. Like I said, if you want to be an artist, find some art communities. If you want to be a singer, find some singing communities. If you want to be a good developer, find some like developers communities, startup communities. There are like plenty of communities. So many people struggle just because they don't know like what they want from life, right? So I think it's super important to decide where you want to go, what interests you, like how do you want to best spend your time, and find the communities that like, uh, that fulfills it. And again, one of the things I always do during the talks is like talk about my failures. I think it's very okay to fail. Like society has like made failure into a bad thing, but I don't think failures are a bad thing. Failures is an opportunity to learn. I have like failure is your like it's the stepping stone to victory, right? I mean, you have to fail multiple times to make a win, and it's completely okay to fail. I mean, don't fear failures. Failure is a good thing. You might need to deal with some like when each time you deal with a failure or you come across a failure, you'll learn a ton of things. So please be open to failure and unlearn the things. Unlearn the things that society have taught you, like grades are everything, or uh, it doesn't mean like don't stop studying or anything. Grades does mean like you need to like get your degree and everything, but grades is not everything. So great, but it does mean a lot of things. And yeah, basically networking with people, reach out to people, ask good questions. Again, coming back to the point of internet, you have internet, like who do you want to be like? You probably know a few of famous people who you want to be like. Try reaching out to them, ask them good questions, and I'm pretty sure they would respond to you. Probably not very fast, but they would definitely respond to you. Give you answers, ask good questions. If you're stuck with something, you are building a project and you're stuck with something, you can ask them, how would you do this? And they would give you answers. So all these are important. Like community does not necessarily mean like a thing with a name, an entity, and all that. You can still like go to Twitter, go to LinkedIn, reach out to people who you think might be able to help you. Ask good questions, get your answers. So yeah, these are in broad, like the importance of communities. I mean, there are bigger communities, there are like smaller communities. Find the smaller communities that you share the same ethics and same values with, the people who you vibe with. So do that. I think that's all you have to do in terms of finding communities. Now, like I think like I initially mentioned, talking about something continuously for an hour or for 45 minutes, it's a very boring thing to do. So I will probably get started with questions. I think that's the best way to do it. It's more interactive, it's more fun. Let me open the chat. Is there a link anywhere else I need to look the questions for, or is it just the chat? Can someone tell me? Yeah, I think since I'm hearing nothing, I'll just go with the chat box in the Google Hangouts. I hope that's all right. Right. So first question is like, what happened to your startup? So the startup recently got acquired. By acquired, you probably are familiar with the term acquired, because like Facebook acquired WhatsApp, or Uber Eats acquired Zomato, or it's the other way, right? Like Zomato acquired Uber Eats. So not as big as that, but on a small scale, our startup, which is Carom, also got acquired by a US company called Oyster, which is also on the same space. So and currently, as part of the acquisition, I'm working in the Oyster as a product lead, as a product manager. So yeah, that's what happened to Carom. And what's the next thing? Did you join any other institutes other than VCAIR? No, I didn't. I only still like the last educational institution I have gone to is Vidya Center. And what difficulties did you face after leaving TCS? To be honest, the difficulties I faced after leaving TCS has nothing to do with leaving TCS, right? I mean, leaving TCS was a constant, like a conscious decision, and I knew what I wanted to do after that. So the difficulties I faced after that has nothing to do with the fact that I left TCS. The difficulties after that came from starting my own startup, and it failed. And like I was when a startup fails, you don't have a salary, and when your bank balance goes down, it's a scary feeling, right? So that is probably one of the biggest hardships when your startup fails and when you don't have a salary job. The feeling when you get to see your bank balances going down, and at some point you need to get out of this. So that is probably the hardest part of leaving TCS, but not because of leaving TCS, but yeah, building our own startup. And one other thing probably is like convincing others, because TCS is a job with a lot of security and a lot of like it's a conventionally secure job, right? So you probably need to convince a few people, probably your family and stuff, to let them know that you want to quit the job. So that is also kind of a hard part. But yeah, that should, like, if you are sure where you want to go in your life, I think that's an easy thing to do. What's the next question? So fourth question. I'm on the fourth question. That is, what is your opinion starting a startup from college or after a few years working in a startup? This can be very contextual. There is no right or wrong way here. There are people who have built startups while they were in college and went on to build big billion startups, right? There are also people who worked in startups. Like I worked in several, like 2 startups before starting my own startup. There is no right or wrong way. There is 2 ways to look at this. While you're in college, you have an opportunity to take risks. Like I said, you don't need to quit a job, right? So you can easily start a startup on your own. You can easily find co-founders, because you are, again, this is another advantage of community. Like finding your co-founders when you're starting a startup. So you are already part of the community, which is college, or if developer clubs or any other communities as part of your education. All these communities, you can use those to find a co-founder. And if you have a compelling idea, if you have a compelling problem to solve, which is like your product, you should definitely start it while you're at college. I think that college probably is like the best place to start a startup. And you can learn things as you go. You can find a good mentor who has built a startup, or people who have been there, done that. You can find them, ask them questions when you get stuck. Like I said, again, like probably there are startup communities around you which you can join, and you can ask questions. So if there is a compelling problem, definitely start a startup while you are at college. And does working in a startup help? Yes, definitely, because you see how things are done, from an insider's perspective, right? You know how a company runs, how a team is built, how funds are raised, how the day-to-day things works, how communication, how the teams work together, and all that. These things definitely help. But yeah, to conclude and to answer your question, if you have a compelling problem to solve, please start a startup while you're at college. Next question. So you already mentioned that in the next 10 years we all would be coding. So my question is, typing speed so much important? So what is the minimum WPM? It's not, you need not really fret over the typing speed and stuff. It definitely helps if you want to be productive, but it's not like a single determining factor to measure your skill. I mean, it can, again, spend more time doing things, and coding has nothing to do with like typing speed. Coding is basically developing that logic, developing the logic of building things. Yes, definitely coding, like the typing speed helps in so many other places. When you're typing things, if you're spending time on your computer, you're definitely typing a lot of things, and it definitely helps, but it wouldn't directly help coding. If you want to, if you had to choose between like a skill to upskill or a skill to work on, definitely I would focus on solving problems with code rather than trying to improve my coding, like typing speed. It would come along. What was your inspiration? Okay, this is like a very open-ended question that I always get. Inspiration is basically, again, going back to the communities, which is our topic. You're not born with inspiration, right? You're not born with inspiration. You're not born with motivation. You need to find your passion. So again, passion need not be like passion is. I believe that passion is an overused word. Like people throw around the word passion a lot. It's okay if you don't have a passion, or it's okay if you have more than one passion. It's okay if your passion changes. How do you find your passion is like a big question too. Like if you find something that is interesting to you, you would automatically be inspired to work on it. How do you find your passion? There is no method or formula to find your passion, definitely. But what you can do is expose yourself to new things, expose yourself to new ideas. Try something. If you don't, I'm talking in case if you don't have a passion. If you already have a passion, great. Find something that coincides with your passion and work on it, and you'll automatically be inspired to have a big vision for yourself. Like it can be a bit over the top. It can be a bit like a huge. And I think it comes down to finding your passion, and you can find your passion if you expose yourself to new things. Try different things, try new things, and yeah, that's that. Any suggestions for how a student-based startups can get seed funded? Because usual accelerators like Y Combinator asks to drop out, but I don't know. So first of all, I would ask is like, do you actually? So the question is, how can you get funded as a student startup, right? The question I would ask is, do you need fund? Like, why do you need fund? That's like the first question I would ask. Think about it this way: 6-7 years ago, you had no way to build a web application for free. But in 2020, building and hosting a web application is completely free. There are multiple services like Netlify, Next. You probably already know all this. If not, I'm pretty sure your DSC, the club, can help you find those. So you can easily build a web application and host it for free, for completely free. Only thing that you need to spend is your time. So if you're still building a web application, you don't need a fund. That's the one part of the answer. The other, again, as long as you're not building like a rocket ship, or as you're not building Tesla, or as you're not building an electric car or a big hardware competitor, you don't really need fund. Now, the case where, say, if you're building something like a hardware startup, which needs a bit of fund to like start building before making revenues, how would you approach it? There are so many startup accelerators. There are so many student startup, like you mentioned, Y Combinator. Y Combinator only asks you to drop out if you get funded, and if you get funded, starting a startup is not easy. You need to spend a lot of your time building stuff, and it would be incredibly hard to manage your studies and building a startup together. So it will definitely be a wise decision if you want to continue your studies and not build a startup full time. That's okay. You can still do it part time. But if you're going to get funded and going to go full time on it, you definitely need to drop out. Do you think competitive programming skill matters? Right? Yeah. All right. Competitive programming. I have never done much of competitive programming, so I'm not an expert in this field, and I cannot say if that is useful or not. But it will definitely help you get jobs. That's what I can say. That's one definite things I can say. But I think a lot of companies, a lot of startups are moving away from this method of hiring. When I hire people at my company, we don't even do coding interviews. We don't even do like what we give is like what we call a take-home exercise, where we would where we'd ask the candidate to build something, build a software or not a software, like a part of a small module or something, and we would discuss it. We won't we won't even ask like technical questions. We would just discuss the project. That's how in the modern day companies assess a candidate. So will it help improve your skills? Yes. Will it help you get jobs? Yes. But is it necessary? Probably not. And again, if it's something you enjoy, please do that. So, but yeah, it's not a necessary skill. What do you think is going to happen post-COVID and also the floods? And is there something we can do about it, in your opinion? I cannot, like, I didn't completely understand the question. Is it, I hope someone can leave a reply to that. Is it, do you want to do something regarding COVID or the flood, or do you want to do something that helps your career during this time? If somebody can leave a response, that would be great. I'll continue with the other questions. What was your first startup named and why it failed? Good question. So my first startup was called MarketFox, and it was a marketing automation tool. It failed because of several reasons, like our own mistakes. Like, one big mistake that we did was not talking to the customers enough. Like, we thought building a product, we assumed a product. This is like classic mistakes a lot of us make. We think a product would be useful to the user, and we never do enough research. We start building it, like we start building it. We build a lot of features. We build all the cool things, but in the end, if you ask, would the user pay for it? Would a user pay for your product? Is it solving a tough problem to your user? Probably doesn't. So one of the big reasons like the fail was like there are a lot of competition. Like, there are a lot of companies who are already doing that. And second thing, like, I think I would say like lack of enough research. Like, we assumed these features would help useful. So don't assume things. Ask, like, talk to your users. If you think there is a product opportunity, first of all ask people, like ask your potential users if they would pay for it, or if it's validate the existence of the real problem. Any suggestions? I think these are repeated questions. What is your opinion on this? What is your opinion on this online community, like on dev community? It depends on the community, right? So again, the question is, what is the opinion on these online communities like dev community and Spectrum? Depends on the community. Because I'm part of a lot of great communities, but there has also been a lot of communities that are very kind of useless in terms of it. There is a lot of noise. There is like probably won't be the best use of time. So choose your communities, like carefully. What all are the advantages of registering a company outside India? It depends on where your target customer lives. So for a global company, for a software company, most of the customers live outside of, like, globally, right? So in that case, like, number one advantage is that you can accept payments in, like, international payments. You must be able to accept international payments. So that is like one advantage of registering a company outside of India. If you're doing it in India, there are like a lot of legal complications in terms of accepting, like, international currencies and stuff. So that would be like one big advantage of registering the company outside of India. Yeah. Tell us about your experience in startups. Yeah, tell us about your experience in the startups you worked and how it motivated you in starting. This also has to go back to the sense of community, right? I met a lot of people, like smart people, who inspired me to build things. I even didn't know a world like a startup world existed, right? Like, when I was in college, my goal was to get into TCS, get a good job, get paid, have a good life. That was the goal. But when you meet different kind of people, when you expose yourself to a different kind of setup, you come across different people and you come across different ideas. Probably some ideas that you don't agree with, or some ideas that you may fall in love with. So working in the startups and meeting these people gave me a whole new perspective, in terms of what exists out there in the world, what can I do, and how can I help people with what I know. So all these things, all these things definitely opens up your mind to again, to build new things. The motivation again has to come from within. Like, yes, you can look at things. They might give you a motivation for like for a day, for a week max. And if you have to build a startup, or if you have to do something for long term, you have to like, the motivation has to come from within. And for that, you definitely need to work on something that you are passionate about. If you're working on something boring, you might lose motivation on the way and you'll give up. So find something that interests you, find something that you're good at, and find something that is also aligns with your vision for yourself. And I think that's how you find motivation. Please give your suggestions on remote internships. I think again, not an expert on this, but I'm pretty sure there are like a lot of websites, marketplaces like Internshala and stuff who lists all these remote internships. You should definitely go in there and check out. And I think probably this would be a great place, great initiative that the DSC VAST can start doing. Collect and curate all the industry opportunities, all the internships. Like all that you can have a job board facing students of your college. Students of your college to like, so you keep them informed regarding the opportunities of internships and stuff. I think that would be a great place to start for like a community thing to do. All right. Question number 12. What are the real benefits of NBA accreditation? Sorry, I have no idea what NBA accreditation mean, and I'm like, again, the rule of thumb, don't talk about things that you don't know. So I would not answer that because I have no idea what that means. Question, yeah. I'm a +2 student, and it's very, very hard to find a community for high school students. Most of them are focused only on college. You mentioned the importance of code, but my high school life, most of the students do not importance. I think, again, this is where so the question is, you are a +2 student and you don't have communities, like communities are more focused on college and everything. I think that the premise of the question is wrong. This is where the internet communities come in. There are a lot of internet communities out there who helps in coding, startups. Again, whatever you want to do, there is a community, right? And they don't filter you by age. They don't filter you by where you are at in terms of your age. It basically, if you can, again, I'm pretty sure people, like, if you ask the right people, you can definitely get into those communities. Most of them are free communities. Most of them are open communities. So be part of online communities. Don't think of communities as a thing, as a group, or as a group of people that is in your school or in your college. Find these online communities, join them, and again, you would meet people from all around the world. It's not restricted by a geographical location, right? You'll meet people from all around the world, all these smart people, and you'll definitely get to learn a lot of things. Question number, please stop me. I don't know like what's the time limit or stuff, so please stop me, the moderators and everyone, like if you're already over time. So, but I'm going to continue answering the questions until then. Where is question number 14? Yes, I found question number 14. What are major changes that is going to happen in the programming world or IT world in the future? And what are the precautions that students need to have, or what should we learn to cope with it? So again, you need to prepare yourself for international competition opportunities, right? Like one big thing that you can do apart from coding skills and programming skills is improve your communication skills. By communication skill, that doesn't necessarily mean good language command, like good fluency in English. It is definitely needed. You need to be decent in the language of English, because English is the international language. If you are going to work in an international team, you would definitely need to have good command on the language. Apart from that, you also need to be a good communicator. You need to be good at asking questions. You need to be good at conveying your thoughts to someone else. Right, that's all. Again, if you're working, when you're working at remote teams, you don't have the opportunity to see people on a daily basis. You probably need to, put across things through writing. So improve your writing skills, improve your reading skills, improve your communication skills. When you are on a call, you should be able to convey your messages or your thoughts to someone else in a crisp and clean way. People might not have all day to listen to you. You should be able to give them, say, here are 3 things you should do. So 1, 2, 3. So that's a good template I always use at workplace. So if somebody asks me a question, answer that first, give the explanation later. So these are the things that you can do. So improve your communication skills, improve your writing skills. That is one thing that would help you a lot to differentiate yourself from, get out of the average. 14, 15. What are the major issues that we find difficult during interviews? So the question is, what are the major issues that we find difficult during interviews? This also depends a lot on the interview process, right? Conventional companies, I personally disagree with a lot of interview practices that we see in conventional companies. You cannot judge a candidate asking technical questions. I think that's a very outdated way of interviewing people. So personally, if you're applying to good companies, no good companies actually still does that. Like nobody would ask you, what is OOP concept, or what is what is the variables and all that questions. So people would give, if you are able to build things. So build a resume for yourself. By building a resume, I mean build things that you can put onto your resume. Don't just add. Say you can say on your resume, right? You can say, I know JavaScript, I know Ruby on Rails, I know Java, I know Python. There would be 100 other resumes with the same content. There are 100 other people who have done the same thing. How can you differentiate yourself? So if we open a job application in our company, we would get hundreds of resumes, and nobody would have time to read through all this 100 resumes. People skim over it. So you need to differentiate yourself. What can you do to differentiate yourself? Build something cool. Put it on your resume. Instead of saying I know React, you can say I have built this thing with React. Check it out. It's online. There's a URL. I can go to the URL and see what this thing is. So build your resume. As such, it's standing out. It's impressive. So that would be like the number one interview hack, rather than performing in interviews, or than preparing for interviews. Build a good resume that stand out, because getting to the interview part is the hard part. If you get an interview, if you have good communication skills, you can get through it. In retrospect of past 5 years of your life, what are the changes that you think helped your personal and career growth? Great question. I think you need to unlearn and learn a lot of things. So unlearning is equally important as learning new things. As someone who grew up in a conventional community and everything, there was a lot of things that I was taught, or I learned, or I picked up, that I needed to unlearn, right? And learning doesn't stop with college. Actually, more learning start after your college. You need to learn something new every day. So keep that mindset, keep that open mindset towards learning. And getting a job doesn't mean your learning is done. So that is, if I reflect on the last 5 years of my journey, from Vidya to from where I am now, I'd say I had this open mindset of trying to learn new things. And don't try to be correct every time. Don't try to be right. try to find out the right things. It's okay to if you're wrong. I mean, learn to identifying mistakes and correcting them is super important. You need to acknowledge if something is wrong with you, then only you can fix it. So be open to finding your own mistakes, finding things that you're bad at, try to improve those. Also know things that you're good at and improve those. So this would definitely help you grow as a person. And not, I prefer to work with good people rather than smart jerks, or you can be brilliant and not so good with people. So build your personal skills, be a nice human, be kind to everyone, help people. So you definitely need to build that social skills. Scrolling towards next question number 17. Do marketing skills are needed in starting a successful startup? Again, these are the kind of question that needs a lot of context. Depends on what you're building, right? I mean, if there are companies who doesn't do much of marketing and makes millions of revenues. There are companies who do a lot of marketing and are still not profitable or not make enough revenues. So it's probably very, very dependent on what you're building. You can definitely, marketing skills definitely help. Of course, marketing is a very important part of starting a startup. But again, I wouldn't say that that's a deal breaker. Mechanical students placed in IT company, is it good for them? I would ask this yourself. Is it good for you? Is that what you want to do for the rest of your life? If not, don't do it. I mean, if not, change it already. Did you learn mechanical engineering to write code for the rest of your life? If yes, please do that. If not, please already don't take that offer and try doing something differently. 18 and 19. So please share the communities that you're involved with. Also, please share the source like Slack or LinkedIn or GitHub. So most of the communities I am part of, the top communities I personally choose is private communities. Not everyone can join in, but I still think there are a lot of communities. I can probably share the links to those communities afterwards. Probably would be hard to find the links right now, but I can definitely send to the event coordinators and they can share it with you, I think. After completing BTech, why so many doesn't get jobs? Is it important to take any masters? Masters is not at all important for getting a job, especially if you're in computer science. It doesn't add anything. So again, look at the reasons. The question is, why are not many people getting jobs even after BTech, right? Look at yourself or look at the people who are not getting jobs. At least in the problem with Indian education system is that a lot of people are forced into BTech, not by choice, but because it's a status thing, or it's their parents forces them to, or their peers forces them into it. So the reason why they all of them doesn't get the job is, I think, is this: the quality of the people who are going through a graduation does not meet the employability benchmarks. Not everyone is in your college for the same reasons, right? I think that's the core reason for a lot of people not getting jobs. You can think of it in two ways. So either I think it's always a wise decision. If you think BTech is not for you, you should leave and do something else that makes you happy. And other thing, if you are in it, if you want to make it out, if you want to get a job, you need to start working. You need to like the skills, you need to learn coding. I think it's getting a job is really easy. If you know really good coding, if you have basic communication skills, I think getting a job is not at all hard. It's the fact that not many people try to get a job that leads. The numbers can be skewed, right? you shouldn't just trust the numbers because there's a lot of unemployment, there are a lot of people not getting a job. Don't take the numbers into your heart. So like numbers can be skewed due to like different reasons. My take on this is it's because people are not really trying, rather than it's not a problem with BTech, or it's not a problem with engineering degrees. It's a problem with people. Yeah, I think that's the end of Q&A, right? Thanks a lot.
Hello, sir. Hello.
Yeah. Yes, please.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, sir. So we have two last questions. I think we'll stop with that then, if you're okay with it.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay. So one is, what are minimum requirements for startup in terms of hardware, software, and financial, also infrastructure and license? What are the minimum? Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that? Because what do you mean by minimum requirements? Is it to start a startup, or is it to what is the question?
I'm guessing the question is aimed towards how to the minimum cost or the minimum hardware and software requirements to start an average startup in today's world.
I think in today's world, the average cost of starting a startup is like $0 or zero. So first thing you need is a product. First thing you need is a product that people can use. Everything else can come later. Like, so as long as you have access to a good internet connection, and you have a laptop or a computer to work with, that's the only thing you need. And of course, you need to invest your time. And in terms of cost, I mean, licensing and all, like setting up the legal entities, all that, in my opinion, comes later, because you first need to build a product. You need to build. That's the hardest part: building the product, making people like the product, making people pay for your product. That's the hard part. Everything else comes on a distant second. So I would rather be less worried about the cost and everything, and try building a product, which is, again, it's cost $0 to build a product. So yeah, that's my answer.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir. We have one final question.
Yes,
which do you think is more helpful in terms of building a startup? Is it taking entrepreneurship courses, or is it getting involved in entrepreneurship events?
Definitely the latter. I mean, courses, I think, is kind of useless, because there are a lot of free content out there already, which you can use to learn the basics. So if you go to YouTube and search for how to start a startup, there is a 20 video series from Y Combinator on how to start a startup, right? And it used to be 20 a few years ago. Now probably there is like a lot more videos. It is like a content from one of the world's most trustworthy startup ecosystem, right? And go to YouTube, or you can find tons of content to learn things on your own. I don't think a course is necessary. And like you said, it would definitely help if you're part of like startup communities, where you can build relationships, like find right people to talk to.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
So I think we'll end with the Q&A session. We actually have a special request, if you're okay with it.
Yes, sure.
There are actually quite some of the people who are attending this call right now do follow you on social media, so they've been up to date on your life and all. So we were wondering if you could tell us your the life story and all the traveling that you have done, like from college. That you get it, right? The complete thing.
Right. Like the journey, right? Like, yeah, I mean, I probably didn't do much of an introduction. So, okay, I completed my computer science engineering from Vidya Academy in 2014, and I joined TCS. After that, again, TCS was not my thing. It was like a different corporate setup. So I joined a startup called Freshworks, which is a startup in Chennai. And I worked there for 1.5 years. And with 3 of other colleagues from Freshworks, I started MarketFox, which was like the marketing automation tool that I probably mentioned that failed. And that was in 2017. Oh, no, it was 2016. And we got funded. We moved to Bay Area, like we moved to Silicon Valley. And we were there for a program called Y Combinator. We got selected too, and we got the funds from. The company didn't go well. Like I said, we had traction issues. We couldn't gain enough users to build the company, so we had to shut it down eventually. And I moved back to India, because it doesn't make sense to stay in Bay Area because the rents are super high and everything. And I was looking for my next job, and I applied to a company called Product Hunt. And they were a remote team back then, but they couldn't hire from India because of several reasons. But the CTO of Product Hunt was a very kind person, and he tweeted out my name, like saying I was looking for a job, like, because he interviewed me actually and he liked me, but he couldn't hire me because I was from India. And he tweeted out my name. This is also another example of importance of like building a relationship and communities. Like that person, he was very kind enough to tweet my name. I got a bunch of job offers. I moved to Germany. Where I currently live. I live in Berlin now. I live in Berlin, Germany. I got a bunch of job offers. I started another startup. I joined another startup. Later, I started another startup called Karam. Like this was also when I was introduced to the whole, like problems of ecosystems, like remote ecosystems and stuff, remote work and everything. And that's how I started Karam, which was with my wife, who's also Vidya Academy alumnus. We studied in the same class of 2014, computer science. We started Karam, and Karam recently got acquired. I probably know the story. And apart from that, apart from like the professional side, I like photography a lot. I travel a lot. And before COVID, I used to travel a lot because like I used to work from home even before COVID. So I had the pleasure of like the privilege of traveling a lot. So yeah, that's that. And currently I'm working in Oyster as a product manager, in the same space. Yeah, that's that.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So thanks a lot for having me here. I mean, again, like I said, it's a pleasure. It's an honor to talk to all the people in like the place where I have personally been. I haven't seen any names that I personally know in terms of faculties and everyone, but again, super proud to be here. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so yeah, I think we can come to an end of the session now. So thank you so much, Mr. Sooraj, for being with us here today. It was an amazing session. Thank you for delivering such a wonderful talk. So we hope to see you again as a part of DSC someday soon. So thank you for interacting with the students, and thank you to all the participants who are here today attending the session. Thank you to all the members from our college, and we hope it was a nice moment for you to interact with the teachers too. So thank you.
Yeah. I mean, thanks a lot for this opportunity. Like, this was unexpected, but yeah, super happy to have this opportunity to interact with teachers and everyone. Like super happy. Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.